CountryWide Connect, connecting farmers and growers to what they need to know to grow. Your daily innovative rural show with Andy Thompson and Sarah Lang.
Welcome to CountryWide Connect on the 8th of May. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us live wherever you are watching or listening around the world, and of course on demand. Andy, I did a bit of the analytics of the first month of the show, and I can tell you what, I was quite surprised. Were you?
People actually watching and listening.
Actually people watching and listening.
I know.
So we've got to behave ourselves, not for the BSA, but for the fact that we have wonderful, a fan base. I actually rang someone to book them on the show, and they said, I literally just finished listening to you. So it's just amazing. Thank you. We really appreciate the support.
Are we 5 weeks in?
6?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, hey, I've got a presentation for you just quickly before we get into the show today. I've got something for you. Your very own beef and lamb pen.
Oh,
there you go. So now you can't steal mine. So
these are actually really good. And may I say, I think we could actually do a review of industry pens.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Because there's some shite ones and there's some really good ones. Beef and lamb, those ones never go missing in my house.
No, and actually, so when I was at, we were at the Ag Emissions Conference last week, I had managed to forget my notebook. And I knew that there would be a notebook somewhere in the, how you have the businesses there. So I very quickly went in and snaffled a notebook. So whatever, I think it was C-Lock Company. Thanks so much for the notebook that I stole. Didn't even talk to him, I just stole the notebook. Oh, and a couple of pens. And
there is a lot of events that we will be broadcasting from across the year. Really excited, and thank you so much to those wonderful events for hosting CountryWide Connect coming up, including the Beef and Lamb Out the Gate conference we will be broadcasting from on the 20th and 21st of May here in Christchurch.
Yeah, looking forward to that one actually. Always a great event out the gate, and we'll be there for 2 days. So yeah, that'll be great.
It'll be great. Come up and say hi too, even if we're live. I mean, we'll wave at you if we can't talk.
Right, let's get on with the show because we do have a guest waiting. It's Friday, so we are going to finish the show with our sports segment. Brian Ashby and Dave Worsley are going to join us. We're going to have a look at Steve Lancaster has been announced as the new CEO of the Rugby Union, not Miles Hurrell, which was the rumour sometime middle of last year. Did you not catch up with that rumour?
No, you keep your ear close to the ground.
Well, no, that was Lashes who told me that.
Oh.
There was a definite rumour about that sort of in the middle to late last year.
He would have been very good, but at the same time, Miles has got lots of things he could be very good at.
And also, I would suspect that Mrs. Miles would probably go, you've been... I was going to say busy enough. Do you want that job? So
exactly.
Anyway, so we'll talk to Gash and Worsley about that. Anna Gillespie, she is the very newly minted president of Otago Federated Farmers. We thought we'd catch up with her, but also by coincidence today, she is at the Balanced Farm Environment Awards. What do they call it? Field Day?
Yes.
Down at Luke Kane's place in Otago. So we're going to catch up with her. Kerry Allen, the recipient of the 2026 Lincoln University Bledisloe Medal, a wonderful lady, discusses agribusiness education, decades-long work she has done. This is the most prestigious award that Lincoln University gets out, and she is a teacher, and she's built this agribusiness award, agribusiness program,
in
which
schools,
is 123 schools it's in. So yeah. And then just before 12, we're going to catch up with Minister for Mental Health and Associate Minister of Health, Matt Doocey. The government, and we're talking rural health here actually, the government's new GP funding of $1 million to allow rural GPs to actually go and get some training, but while they're off getting their training, allowing pay for locums to come in and cover them. So yeah, good announcement there. And then news with Richard Badley, with our good friends from Farmlands.
There's an exciting week happening in Rotorua, and this Saturday night is the New Zealand Dairy Industry Awards National Final. So Maegan Legg will join us. She is the chair of the award committee ahead of the national finals. At 11:30, we have Jordan Beattie and Louise Gibson, who spoke earlier to Anne Lee on the Dairy Country podcast. It's a really good discussion around share farming success and risks into dairy farming when you're first starting out. At about 11:15, Libby Toswell, who's both a farmer and economic growth manager at Central Hawke's Bay District Council, explains a very cool technology to help support crop suitability across Hawke's Bay. But joining us now on the phone, and very excited to speak to this gentleman who is an Australian, but currently standing in Wellington. Alan Blood, Executive Director of Victorian Hydrogen, joins us on the phone. Alan, are you there? Hello, Alan. Can you hear us? While Cody just gets Alan on the phone, you may or may not have caught up with the announcement around an Australian company reigniting lignite in Southland and what that could mean for potential New Zealand-based urea fertiliser to help New Zealand's agricultural sector become self-sufficient. We've been trying to get Alan on the phone. He's been a very, very busy man. And there's been a bit
10 minutes ago.
Skepticism around this topic.
All right.
And Alan joins us now on the phone from Wellington. Is it windy there today, Alan?
Battering on the hotel window, so it's a lot better now, but it was during the night, very, very, living up to its reputation.
Absolutely. Hey, Alan, my very first question is, what's the feedback been like since the announcement? Because there's been a bit of criticism that, you know, what's really changed since Solid Energy gave it a nudge quite a few years back.
Well, look, the support has been very, very strong and unbelievably strong and supportive is the bottom line to your question. As to the second part, I am aware that Solid Energy, and I think Ravensdown looked at doing a project quite some years ago. I don't know the technology suite they were looking at. I do know that Solid Energy went into bankruptcy a very short time after that, so whether there was a balance sheet issue or something, honestly, I don't know. But in terms of the technology, look, there's been dozens and dozens and dozens of urea plants built since that time, so whatever the issue was back then, it certainly does not apply to our project now.
So it is operating these plants around the world, right? They're already happening. How does it actually work, Alan? How does lignite become fertiliser? What's the process?
It's a gasification process. The lignite, whilst it's poor man's coal in terms of other uses, once you take the water out of it, it gets very, very wet, it's 55% moisture content, it becomes quite highly calorific. And it converts to gas very easy. So it's mined, it's dried, using waste heat to drive moisture off, which we retain for processed water. And then there's a thing called an air separation unit that brings in atmospheric air. That's separated because it's 78% nitrogen, 20% oxygen, and 2% bits and pieces. The oxygen and the finely ground up coal particles go into a thing called a gasifier, which is just a big pressure vessel. And it's baked in a constant flow at 1500 Celsius and 40 atmospheres of pressure. That temperature and pressure causes the carbon in the coal and the oxygen to form a gas, carbon monoxide, CO. That comes out, it's cooled, and then it in turn is reacted with steam. It's a very old reaction called the water shift gas reaction. It's been around for 100 years, so nothing new. And CO plus H2O gives you H2 hydrogen plus CO2. Those two N gases then separate very easily because of the weight difference. And the nitrogen that you brought in from the atmosphere is then reacted with the hydrogen to make ammonia, NH3. And urea fertilizer is ammonia plus CO2. That's the simple chemistry. That's what you get for $3 billion. So, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, a lot of these been built. And the most recent one was just commissioned late last year in Zambia in Africa. They do exist in the United States, and there's dozens and dozens of them in China. Literally dozens and dozens.
Sure. So, Alan, $3 billion, where I don't know if you've caught up, but as a country quite broke. I'm just hoping you're not going to need too much from the New Zealand government.
We don't expect to needing any from the New Zealand government. If they'd like to give us some, of course, they'd be very, very welcome. But no, look, we're not relying on government handouts to make this project happen. It's based on the initial economic modelling and studies we've done. It's quite robust at pre-Iran prices, I hasten to add, not at the current exorbitant price that is being charged to the poor farmers. We're very happy with the economics as they sit right now. We don't expect them to change very much.
So that's an interesting point there, Alan. So this product, if it's when it is produced here in New Zealand, will be sold obviously at a price which everyone makes money at, right? But it's got to be at a price which farmers are happy to buy it. But it will also guarantee supply without the without that potential disruption. Is that the whole point of this?
It certainly is one of the key points. We will export to Australia and also have sufficient capacity to supply all of New Zealand's needs, which currently New Zealand imports 500,000 tonne a year of urea, balanced to make 265,000 tonnes at Taranaki. But as you'd be aware, they've got issues with gas that's on the public record, gas supply and cost. So if they unfortunately were to have to cease production, we could supply them as well. We actually know Balance well and like them, and we know Ravenstown. So we've been talking to these people for many years just as sort of potential neighbours, so to speak. We have sort of a very, very initial type documentation with both, which will morph into more serious documentation as the project goes through its stages.
Alan, I just need to ask you, we had the Southland Mayor Rob Scott on just after the news of this, and he wasn't across it. What has been the conversations with local authorities, and particularly they'd be interested in the time frame for the economic benefit to Southland?
Did you say the Southland Mayor?
Yes.
I've had a meeting with the Southland CEO, Cameron, from memory. I'm not sure of his surname. I'm actually seeing him again next week, and I know on the prior meeting the mayor could not get there, and I don't think the mayor's getting to this meeting either.
Okay.
I have had very good discussions with the Invercargill City Council, with their mayor and CEO on 3 occasions, and as I mentioned, I'm seeing the Southland CEO early next week when I'm down in.
So on time frame, what's it likely to be, and what do you need? What's your barriers?
We're now going to be applying for the government's fast track process. So if we are able to comply with that, which we believe we will, that'll take just under a year, and then the concurrent with that, we'll be doing the early lead item, equipment lead items, and fabrication, and all the final detailed engineering, which will be done in China. And then we will prefabricate the plant in modular form in China, because we'll then avail of 24/7 work input, and it'll be shipped down in modular form and erected on site, and that will employ over 800 New Zealanders doing that for up to 2 years. And then when it's up and operating, there'll be around 200 permanent jobs and probably another 400 indirect jobs outside the fence. So it's a big employer and a big contributor to the local economy. And we have a very much a local policy in terms of subcontractors and employees and people like that. So
somewhere around 2030, somewhere like that, we could expect it to see up and running and producing?
Yes, look, provided we get a clear run 3 and a bit years from now.
Okay. Alan, why now? Has something changed? Is it just timing? Why now?
Good question. We were going to do this in Victoria and spent some years being messed around by the very, very ideologically driven government there, who, in spite of our environmental credential, and I'll tell you about that in a moment, they just have a pathological hatred of the 4-letter word coal. And so we just got sick to death that we have agreements over there to supply. And so I knew of this lignitic coal in the South Island because many, many years ago, then government, they asked me to come and have a look at it because I know a bit about technology required to make all these things happen. And so it was probably about 2010, somewhere around there. I gave advice, went back and did not forget about it. But when we had all these constant problems in Victoria, we came over here initially with the idea just to supply Eastern Australia. Then, of course, realising that New Zealand itself imported 500,000 tonnes, so we thought, well, we'll supply both. So That's how it came about. So it was really the fault of the Victorian government. And may I say, thank goodness, because it's going to be a much better project here than over there for various reasons.
Alan, you've got about 5 months before a potential change of government to a similar ideology-based coalition on the left here too. Is that enough time?
Look, I have engaged with certain parts of the Labor opposition. I better not mention names in case it gets in trouble, but I certainly have engaged, and I'll be engaging a lot more. The Labor government introduced the fast-track process. I was very pleased to find out about. And so, look, with regard to coal, if we were making truckloads of emissions, I can understand. Our project in Australia, this is an independent CSIRO study of the federal government science group, we would have had net negative, not even net zero, but net negative, far superior, 353,600 tonnes of CO2 equivalent per annum from day one of operation.
Yes.
Now, we're not going to achieve that here, but our aim is to be net zero. So if you have a net zero emitting project supplying a national strategic need, not just a market need, a strategic need, then why would you not support it? The fact that coal is involved, you know, we're not building a coal-fired power station. Coal is a mineral. It has many uses other than sort of burning and making emissions in power stations. So I think there's an education and an acceptance type thing to fully understand that, you know, it depends on how it's used. We're not building a coal-fired CO2 emitting power station. We're building a chemical plant which is going to use the coal in a way not used in this country before, for a very, very beneficial economic outcome, because as you'd be aware, over half your economy here is agriculture related. And urea is crucial. It is crucial. It is just absolutely crucial. And as has just been found with the Iranian crisis, you know, the price has gone up by about 60 or 70% if they can get it and if the farmers can afford to use it. So it is critical for your economy, critical for the agri sector, obviously, and be a big regional economic contributor to the local economy down there. So why would you object to it unless you're just so one-eyed and ideologically stupid?
Yeah, Alan, some people just have an ideological bent against anything like this, and particularly with organisations like Greenpeace. Well, really what they want to do is they're just anti-farming full stop, and they see anything like this as encouraging more farming, and so they don't want to. Hey, Alan, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Really good chat. And
Can I make
one very quick point?
Yes.
We will actually be assisting the environment very significantly. I'm not going to go into details as to what we're proposing, but we do have some plans which are going to help the environment quite considerably. So, you know, we're not coming here to plunder and pillage. We're coming here to make a good project that benefits all, including the environmental sector of society.
We look forward to keeping in touch with you, Alan, throughout the project too. So keep us in mind when you do have new announcements. Appreciate your time.
I will. Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
Bye, listeners.
So Alan Blood, Executive Director of Victorian Hydrogen, there with the $3 billion planned Southland lignite fertiliser plant.
Sounds like it's a go.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you hear him say truckloads, or did he say something else?
I saw you wrote that down, actually. I think he said truckloads.
Okay.
I think he did.
Just double checking with our new self-regulated broadcast standards.
Well, hold on. Well, does Cody have a dump button or not?
Well, this is true.
Anyway.
We won't need that for our next guest because she looks lovely and polite.
Right.
Who's waiting for us now on the line.
Libby Toswell, Economic Growth Manager, Central Hawke's Bay District Council. Welcome to the show, Libby. Thanks so much for your time. Fascinating topic here. A treasure map helping farmers diversify. A new tool, an interactive mapping tool designed to help farmers identify future crop and diversification opportunities. How does this work? What is a treasure map?
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me on the program. So we have developed an exciting new tool, which is basically taken some really robust scientific data and mapped it into a simple, practical tool for farmers, growers, lifestyle block owners, investors to look at and see what crops might be suitable for them to grow on their land here in Central Hawke's Bay.
Libby, I know that there was a bit of work done as part of Our Land and Water. I think it was with the likes of Lee Matheson from Pure Ag. Is this sort of an evolution of some of that work?
Yes, you're exactly right, Sarah. So I was aware, and we were aware of the huge body of scientific work that was done through the Our Land and Water National Science Challenge. And, you know, I mean, that was a multi-million-dollar project that ran for a number of years, and all of that data is sitting in what's now the data supermarket, which is freely available for the public to use. It does require GIS expertise to access that data and get the meaning out of it, but what sits in the background is significant. So what we've done here is taken those data sets and put it, you know, a picture paints 1,000 words, and put it into this very easy to use tool so that growers can look at the viability or the suitability of 16 crops on their land in Central Hawke's Bay, and it gives a snapshot of the district and what the opportunities are there, but you can also zoom right down to the title of your land, and this will be, you know, a first conversation and will spark ideas, and then landowners can go and do further due diligence as to whether they want to, you know, do some testing and take it further.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I'm interested the fact that a council has done this. You know, like normally a tool like this will be done by the sector. And you were talking about how a lot of work had been done, but is this scalable like for other councils and other regions?
That's a really good question, and I think it is. So, you know, we were aware of this work, and then we actually saw that I attended the eTipu conference last year and saw that CEDA, the Central Economic Development Agency in the Manawatu, had created the map for Manawatu, and we thought that was a fantastic idea. Had a couple of meetings with them, and they were happy to collaborate and share some of their learnings. And then we actually had the GIS expertise in-house and some capacity to build it. And so as a council, and, you know, I work in the economic growth and development space, we saw that was within our capability to do for our district. But absolutely, other places, the data is sitting there, and this could easily be replicated as a useful and practical tool across the country.
What will it mean for changes to availability of water, particularly in your area, with what the discussions are with Tukituks project, and how the suitability of crops may change?
So the data that sits in behind this from the data supermarket assumes access to water, and that was clearly laid out in the data sets when they were looking at the land use opportunities across the whole of New Zealand. It says, you know, if you delve in, it says assumes access to irrigation when required, does not take rainfall into account. So, you know, that is something when people are reading the map, we've clearly articulated that that's an assumption that's been made, and that's up to the individual landowners to do their due diligence on and look at further.
One of the interesting things I've focused on when I've seen, say, what they did with Venture Taranaki as well, there was a lot of work on what different land uses could happen there. It's all well and good, and we're seeing it here with apples in Canterbury. If you don't have the investment sort of chicken and egg with the processing of these new crops, then it's not a real viable land use. So land use from a soil and water perspective of what can grow, yes, but from a scalability of processing, not so much.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And, you know, each area does have their strengths and opportunities in processing, and, you know, there's obviously a lot happening in that space at the moment. And I think that's where I think in New Zealand we actually have a lot of support and, you know, and amazing cooperatives like Gillespie and New Zealand wine growers and whatnot, that if a landowner is interested in diversifying, that they absolutely need to then go and look at what their support is then maybe get in their consultants and absolutely look at getting support through it to see it through the value chain.
What's the uptake been like?
This is probably the first step,
Yeah.
and like you say, there are other things through the value chain. But in Central Hawke's Bay, we do have some incredible examples. Craigmore Sustainables has developed that incredible apple orchard, and they're growing Sauvignon Blanc there, employing over 60 people. And that has been something that absolutely there's capital and there's the suitability of the land, but with those two and the supply chain set up, there are some big business opportunities.
What's the uptake from farmers been like, or growers so far?
Well, it's newly released. So at the moment, I think I have had a lot of positive feedback from people of across the board, actually, who are just really interested to see, this information about their land that was held that they couldn't necessarily access.
Because it strikes me as, like, say you're a grower, you're a farmer, and you put it in there, you might find you're growing completely the wrong crop.
Well, absolutely.
Like you talk about diversifying into other crops, you might go, oh, actually, I could be doing a lot better.
It's a very cool map. I'm playing with it now, actually. Just zoom in, click on different things.
Yeah, I think we have got very savvy farmers, and across New Zealand, we've got incredibly savvy business people on the land, and our farmers are always looking for the highest and best land use. I'm also a sheep and beef farmer. I'm calling in from Porongaho in Central Hawke's Bay, and that is something that we are always looking at. And this is simply a tool to spark those other ideas and maybe confirm what you already knew, or maybe actually, find out something new. Some of the biggest surprises, I suppose, or not surprises, but some of the biggest findings from this map that we've found is, we're highly suitable for kiwi fruit. We knew about apples, but that has obviously been confirmed. Berries, Sauvignon Blanc, and even avocados. So there are, that does change a paradigm. I think, the climate is changing. The robust data that sits in the data supermarket has long-term climate and soil overlays, as well as economic and market data in there. And where things are growing, where things can be grown is also changing. And this map reflects that long-term climate data as well, which I think is of value to our growers.
Yeah. You could become the truffle capital by the looks of this too in Hawke's Bay. Would go very well with some lovely Hawke's Bay wine.
It would. And actually just down the road from where I'm calling from, we have Wallingford. Homestead,
yes.
and they are well down the path of truffles, and it's a huge draw card for tourists and locals alike.
I love truffles.
Do you?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say, obviously, and I'm not sure of the regions here, but with the changes to some of the crops in your region, Hawke's Bay, is it, or is that further north? With what, with McCain's, what is?
Yes, with vegetables.
With the vegetables, This could be useful for those farmers to look at what the best option for them to diversify into, I would have thought.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the processed vegetable sector is huge in Hawke's Bay and Central Hawke's Bay. That news has been it's been a big blow to the sector, and I know that all of those farmers are looking at what their options are, but and they are going to need to make decisions in the short term about what goes into the ground this spring. With this map, with the likes of kiwi fruit, berries and whatnot, a lot of those things do require some more significant R&D and then some capital to make a land use change there. So some of these are longer term options, but certainly we're just trying to help enable any positive land use optimisation as part of our overarching economic growth strategy.
It's a really positive tool to sit down with a bank manager to make those changes, because you've got that lovely evidence there as well. Hey, Libby, thank you very, very much for joining us. Libby Toswell's the Economic Growth Manager at Central Hawke's Bay District Council around a new interactive mapping tool to see crop suitability in Hawke's Bay. And thank you very much to our partners PGG Wrightson for sponsoring our segment, our agronomy segment here on Countrywide Connect.
Thank you.
Every season brings new challenges. PGG Wrightson works alongside you in the field, delivering practical agronomy advice where it matters.
That was fantastic to have Libby there. I was actually thinking in my brain what's your name? Andy.
You should write it down.
It's Friday.
With that pen I gave you.
Yes, it's Friday. How will it work with this new changes to local government, where we move from metro to your provincial, where provincial need to encourage and support manufacturing and economic development into the regions, yet don't sit under the same mandate as metro that will need it for the industrial incentive? Do you see where I'm coming from? Because you've sort of disassociated that whole food basket from rural into urban. And you look at Canterbury as an example. Sorry, we're not going on and on about Canterbury on the show, but, to incentivize production and encourage land use in an area that's going to be quite different.
No, I think having the fact that and we talked about this yesterday, having the fact that you have got, say, a more urban council, a city council, right? And they've got their own unitary authority, which is concerned pretty much about their concerns on the environment.
Graffiti on the toilets.
No, the environment, waterways and whatever in their environment, which is urban-based, and then the rest of it being a more rural-based council, still with some urban stuff in it, but their unitary council is more about lakes and rivers and waterways, sea. That's the regional council rules about that, the environment effectively. I think you're going to capture the best of both worlds.
So where would someone like Libby sit as in that whole economic growth part? It
doesn't really matter because
like Napier, Hastings, that will be in a full regional provincial setting, as opposed to
they might see. This is where it get interesting in Central Hawke's Bay, where maybe we should talk to someone there. I don't know whether Central Hawke's Bay actually so it's a district council. I'm sure Hastings has got its own council and Napier's got its own city council. Maybe they'll merge those two together. I mean, they're only 10 minutes apart, and then the rest of Hawke's Bay would be your urban-based, your rural-based council.
Well, there is actually some really good rural councillors on some of those different councils from Hawke's Bay. We should actually hone in there, I think, next week and get a bit of an understanding around how they see it happening.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's one of those topics we shouldn't stop talking about, because it's coming around thick and fast, and the government is saying, we're going to do it whether you like it or not.
3 months.
With not a lot of consultation period and not a lot of awareness. So if we can do one thing on the show is let's look at regional examples to kind of open up that conversation. Yeah. We'd love your thoughts. Connect at country-wide.co.nz on these regional local council reform.
Right, what's now?
We have a wonderful podcast that Anne Lee. This is a section of this podcast too. So if you'd like to follow along, find Dairy Country on all your podcast players. It's a fantastic podcast and does once a week. Jordan Beattie and Louise Gibson talk to Anne around share farming success following the articles in the latest Dairy Country magazine.
Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perry-Lamb.
Hi there and welcome to this week's episode of Dairy Country Podcast. And today I have with me two fabulous ladies who are going to talk us through what successful share farming looks like and some of the ins and outs of that. Now, I'm just going to say right at the beginning, this is our financial disclaimer. Nobody here is giving specific financial advice. This is very general conversation. And if you want to go and get specific financial advice, you can go and talk to people in their professional capacity. So welcome, Jordan Beattie and Louise Gibson. Wonderful to have you here. Jourdain works with NZAB and is based in Canterbury. And Louise Gibson will be familiar to people probably through her share farming consultants company. So she's been talking a lot, you will have seen lately, and in our magazines too, about contract milking, share farming, share milking, all of those wonderful ways to help you grow equity. And we have an article in the latest magazine from these two talking about what successful share farming looks like in our section, which is all about growing equity. So first of all, Jourdain, I thought we'd kick it off with you and sort of talk about knowing your numbers. I think that's one of the things you talked about. And really, when you're starting off, what do you need to, first of all, understand and know that you have a good understanding of?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key things for me is budgeting can feel quite general and it can feel like a bit of a mundane task and almost a tick box exercise. But I think there's really an opportunity to make it a lot more than that. I'm really passionate about connecting the numbers to what's actually happening on the ground. And in the context of share farming, I have this mantra around, and to be honest, any form of budgeting, no number left unexplained. So when you're working through your line by line, it may feel general, but actually take the time to have a think about, yes, I've put this generic number in and divided it by 12, but how could this actually play out? And what does it actually look like in practice? And I think to take it a step further, we're very lucky in our industry. People want to help and they want to share. You just often have to ask. So in share farming, chances are there's been someone before you. They may be willing to have a pretty open book approach around, say, electricity as a number, right? How has this actually played out for you? Could I have a couple of examples of power bills? Or if it's with having a chat with the farm owner, like how do you realistically see this cost playing out? And it's really just that no stone unturned approach. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Going back and having a look at what in reality has happened on this farm before, because there may be a specific issue around refrigeration, or there might be a specific issue around some other aspect of it that pushes those prices up or pushes them down, and you're kind of over budgeting on something. Louise, can you tell me, first of all, I thought what we really should do before we really get into this is establish share farming. Like, what is it? We're not just talking about 50 for herd owning share milking. It can be variable order share milking, that sort of thing as well.
Yes, share farming encompasses your 50-50 share milking all the way down to your contract milkers, which also includes your variable order share milking at kind of the higher level, which is around 30%, and the lower level, which is somewhere that could be as low as probably even 15%, depending on your herd size. The reason we use the term share farming, not share milking anymore, is because contract milking became so prevalent in the last decade or so. It now makes up twice as many roles as the variable order share milking does, and that's a complete switch around from about 12 years ago.
Yeah, so that's an important aspect of this, is that it includes contract milking as well. So you're earning a set price per kilo of milk solids that you're
earning a share
milking.
of the milk check. It's just a dollar value rather than a percentage, which gives that illusion of security and safety. But one thing I think contract milkers and farm owners kind of miss is that when milk price goes down, so do inputs. Farm owners typically remove inputs, which reduces the overall milk production. So there is actually a bit of skin in the game from the contract milker that is often missed around that security piece.
Yes, so there are risks there. You're taking on extra risks as a contract milker compared with an
employee. Yes,
totally, whole lot. Tell us then a little bit about when you're doing some of this budgeting and establishing your costs. One of the biggest costs to you as a share farmer in whatever aspect is that labour cost.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
So your labour cost is going to be completely dependent on the farm. So there are rules of thumb around, say, one full-time equivalent for 175 cows, but it's incredibly common still to have one-person sole charge farms up to 250 cows. That rule is going to be very dependent on your feeding system. So if you've got a really high input tractor-driven feed system, you've got to factor that in. You need to make sure you're accounting for time off, calf rearing. If you're rearing every single calf born. That's going to have a huge impact on your wage budget, and that's something I see a lot of people get caught out on. During your own labour, so that can often just be absorbed, but actually what's realistic, and then what is the cost of that, and that's all going to come down to how many labour units you've been allowed when the contract's been calculated. Factoring in time off, really good rosters, attracting people. Dairy is actually doing some really interesting research in this space at the moment to understand actually how do we estimate what a farm needs for labour to be efficient, and then also what other technology is going to be on farm, because technology is really changing things, but it still can't milk the cows for you. So all those things factor into your labour, and you need to sit down and do a labour budget before you put that line item in your budget.
Yeah. And do you think it's always a risk, particularly with share farmers, contract milkers, herd owning share milkers, to try and cut that cost and do everything themselves?
Yep. They yes. So I see it time and time again. They try to absorb it and they go, no, it's totally fine. But things start to happen. The balls begin to get dropped. And the reality is the expectation has been set by the farm owner that you have this much labour for a reason. It's definitely going to harm you in the long run. The body physically can only keep going for so long. You may think you're a Superman, but you're not. You're human. And it will mean that you probably miss things, or things don't get done as well. It'll probably reflect somewhere in the system. And as well, it's when we often see the other direction, where the farm owner or the consultant will heavily under budget how much labour is needed, and the cost of labour. Labour is incredibly expensive compared to where it was 2 to 3 years ago. 5 years ago, you're not even in the same ballpark. So underestimating that means that you are not going to get the same calibre of labour that you actually require. And that's where we see contract milking agreements come unstuck, because the contract milker has to pay so much more for labour that they either pay it and make no money themselves, or omit that labour unit. And then that actually has a flow-on effect onto the entire farm system, the farm's tidiness, the farm's performance, mating results. So it's one of those things that it's actually in the farm owner's best interest to get correct.
Right, absolutely. And in the contract milking or share farmers' best interests for sustainability, to be able to keep doing this thing.
Physically keep going.
Yeah.
It's a long, painful road.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anybody any good if the wheels fall off and the production, for whatever reason, falls away, the relationships start to break down, and it's just not a good look. Go in there with your eyes wide open, be really practical about what that cost is going to be.
Better to be over budgeted on your labour unit than under.
Yeah. And we all know too that if you are depending on the fact that you're going to get a whole lot of backpackers, then sometimes they're just not there. They didn't turn up, or they turn up and 2 days later they're gone again. So because they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. So
Yep. No, you do definitely be realistic about your labour options. Backpackers are all well and good, but they are not a permanent laboured unit, and you really do need to be careful around your visa requirements. But also when you start looking into the local labour pool versus the international labour pool, are you going to get your accreditation to be an accredited employer? And there is a whole heap of hoops and costs that come with being an accredited employer as well. So making sure you are really eyes wide open as to what that costs. And if you don't know, there is plenty of people to ask, but definitely don't just be like, oh, she'll be right, because that labour line is probably what will be the making or breaking of you.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamb.
Welcome back to CountryWide Connect. Now, I actually really enjoy the fact that this is live because you respond live. I want to say a thank you to New Zealand Pork, who heard live about the pen problem, about
you're stealing my pen.
Andy's pen. So
and
they
then the
have
challenge for industry pens.
And so they wanted to get the prize of best industry pens. There's pink ones. I'll have the pink ones, thank you. So they've just dropped us off New Zealand Pork pens. Thank you, New Zealand Pork. We love you and we love pork. And Andy, your own chopping board, branded.
Look at that.
So this is a public service announcement to the industry that we like gifts.
Yep.
We like pens. And we'll talk nicely about you if you give us nice gifts.
I need a chopping board. We'll take that home. Thanks very much. Well, actually,
we'll have to put that on the gift register because Mr. Jackson's given us company policies.
Have you read them yet?
Have you read the alcohol policy yet?
Yeah, no.
Okay. That could be your weekend homework.
No, you see, I'm pretty comfortable because I think they only apply to employees.
Yeah, well, hey, and Mr. Jackson, if you're listening, we just want an update on that. Does it also apply to Andy Thompson?
Contractors. No.
But thank you very much for joining us wherever you're watching live or listening live. It's a really exciting weekend in Rotorua for the New Zealand Dairy Industry Awards. And I believe we have our next guest. No,
we don't.
We're going to be talking to Maegan Legg, who is the chair of the New Zealand Dairy Industry Awards. Have you been to the national finals before?
I have actually. I went in Southland, Invercargill, I think, maybe 5 or so years ago. And I must say, this is what one of the things I was going to say to Maegan about this is it's inspiring to go.
100%.
I just walked away, and the passion from these young people and their love for the industry and the fact that they're there, and you're looking at the very best of the best there at an event like this, and it's an incredible night. And you just see them. And what's really cool actually is in a country like New Zealand, obviously so small, is we see these people go through and continue their careers, and they pop up, and these people are fantastic. And also you see the progression from the trainee to the manager to the share farmer, which is encapsulate probably the best thing about the entire dairy industry is that succession planning or that progression ability for dairy, through from a trainee, and they can immediately see a pathway. Eventually, it's a long track and it's hard work to farm ownership.
Yeah. The other part too is really hard to get, as we've talked about on the show before, share milking positions, and things like the Dairy Industry Awards can be a fantastic marketing tool for, to potential farm owners and employees as well for some of these managers.
And some people get a little bit grumpy about that.
About what part?
Well, the fact that they get up there and they win the awards and then they get targeted by other bigger properties, the winners.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So there is a catch-22 to this.
There is a catch-22.
I really liked...
And
sorry?
To the extent that I've heard that some farmers not that keen on allowing their...
Interesting. But we can ask Maegan that now, who joins us live. Can you hear us, Maegan?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
You can, but can you turn yourself around? You're just on...
Crooked.
Damien O'Connor has this problem. There we go. That's beautiful. Thank you, darling. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm based in the Manawatu, just south of Palmerston North.
Amazing. And you are the chair of the New Zealand Dairy Industry Awards Committee that put on such a fantastic event.
Yes, I am.
So big weekend.
So you're in the middle of it. What are you doing today? Because you're actually there working, and I can see you said yesterday you've got a little bit of a window to come in and talk to us when we were talking. Is there judging happening today?
No, today we are out on sponsor experiences. So Fonterra has all of our entrants today, and we are at the Nongataha Bowling Club doing a cooking competition. Nothing like a bit of friendly competition on top of the Dairy Awards competition. And then we're going to play some bowls.
Oh, sounds like a great Friday.
It does sound like a good Friday.
Yeah. So how's the nerves with everything coming together for Saturday? I know you've got a great committee and team behind the awards. Everything looking on track?
Yeah, everything's looking fabulous. Our entrants have lost their nerves today. They had their interviews yesterday, so they're feeling much better out and about today.
So it's all done and dusted, right? Now they just get to go and do some cooking and then play bowls. Talk to
100%
us.
right.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Just calm them down a little bit. The dinner itself, I was just, before you joined, I was talking to actually as an dairy farmer and of the people that are coming through. It's an incredible night. It's an amazing night.
Yeah, it is an absolutely fabulous night, but it's not just the night. I mean, it's the entire program from start to finish. So all of these people that are coming together on Saturday night have done their regional awards. They've been judged at least 3 times each. So it's been going on since February for these people.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to put it all together as well, because it can be quite daunting, the level of detail that you need to put forward. But are you here like you do with the Balanced Farm Environment Awards as well, that they get a lot out of it in terms of being able to look at themselves holistically in their business?
Yeah, absolutely. They do. They get so much out of it. They get 3 rounds of feedback from the judges, massive amounts of meeting with other people, heaps of it's unexplainable how much they get out of it when they're out and about.
Yeah.
The connection and the growth and the business decisions they make from it.
Maegan, so you're obviously at the finals now. We've got the best of the best, the finalists from all of the regions, as you said. How many regions take part in the setup for this, to get to this finals award?
We have 11 regions across the country.
So that's a huge amount then. What about the entries? Are the entries strong, at that regional level?
Yeah, they are. They're very strong. Some of our regions are a little quieter than they have been in the past, but other regions are hugely up on entrant numbers. So it kind of goes in swings and roundabouts across different years. But yeah, we've got massive entry numbers this year, and we're really happy with the calibre of entrants we've got coming through.
And your time being involved with the awards, Maegan, what sort of stood out over the time around watching sort of anyone's progression or anything that's really caught your attention?
What's been massive for us, we entered back in 2020, and I've been involved in the Dairy Awards either regionally or nationally ever since. And it is, for me, it's the people, it's the connections, it's the friends you've got right around the whole country.
They are pretty, and what I find really interesting with these awards is the way that they're structured, from a trainee to a manager to a share farmer, and the difference of confidence as you see from these young people as they're up there in the night. The trainees are amazing, aren't they? They've just, they've only just started, and here they are in an awards session. It's incredible to watch the growth of them.
Yeah, absolutely. All of our trainees are less than 3 years of full-time experience. So for some of them, it's leaving their home regions for the first time, coming to the national awards. It's meeting other farmers and learning different farm systems. It's huge for our trainees.
Yeah. What do you give the, the award winners in regards to preparation around what it will mean for them going forward?
We give them a judging appraisal so they know what to expect in their judging and what things that we're going to want to see from them. And then it's up to their interpretation and how they want to share that with our judges.
So on the finalists, and you said that I think you were there in 2020. What's the standout? What's the category that makes one of the finalists sort of, head and shoulders above the others when it comes to the awards? What are the judges looking for?
There's no one category that puts anyone head and shoulders above the others. It's a combination of all of those categories put together. So we look at their people and culture, we look at their milk quality, we look at their environment, their health and safety practices, and all of those go together into their final appraisal. Yeah,
it's a fantastic wheel. I'm just having a look here on the website around, like you just said, their people and culture is just as important as the financials, just as important as livestock management and hygiene, which our very good friends at Ecolab do sponsor one of the key sections of the awards. And I got the pleasure to be on farm with Thomas and Fiona Langford, last year's Share Farmer of the Year, to totally understand their whole system and their growth over time. They're pretty impressive in regards to the alumni for the others to learn from.
Yeah, 100%. And we've got the Ecolab boys up here with us at finals, and they are out and about with our dairy trainees on the study tour today.
Okay, make sure you send them home early from the bar afterwards. They have a reputation to carry on longer than they need to.
They certainly do, but we'll make sure we keep them under control.
Yeah, tomorrow night they'll be misbehaving as well, won't you, Mr. Stenning? Absolutely. Hey, so I promised you I wouldn't ask this question, but I'm going to anyway. Do you have a favourite? Do you know?
Oh, that's not very fair.
Who's going to win?
It's not very fair at all. No, I'm a mother, and I do not have a favourite child, and I do not have a favourite entrant. So we'll just leave it there for favourites, shall we?
Hey,
come on,
Maegan, thank you very much for taking the time to step out of what sounds like a very fun day where you are today, and best wishes for everything tomorrow. I know it will go smoothly, and it will be a fantastic event. So congratulations on pulling it all together this year, and we look forward to talking to the Share Farmer of the Year on Monday here on the show.
We're going to do all three. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Maegan. All three next week. Well done, executive producer. Are you implying that you have a favourite child?
I've got a favourite son and a favourite daughter.
Oh, you're very, very lucky. Well done. Hey, and do you have a favourite co-host?
Yeah, but I've only ever had a co. Yes, my current one. I've never had a co-host before, so definitely.
That's good. I can always say the number one co-host in Andy Thompson's life.
That's my favourite co-host, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, well, best wishes to everybody. I look forward to seeing who comes through. It's always very exciting to learn about their background, and I know we have profiled many, many winners in our publications, and will continue to do so.
Yes, and it would be lovely to go to the finals. I think, where are they? Rotorua, yeah. So it's a long way to go. So, and it was, just didn't quite fit the agenda. But Maegan said that I think they're down here in the South Island next year.
Yep.
So
wonderful.
We should be able to make it along to that. So certainly a very, very good night. And the other thing, the finals I went to, what struck me was the very top of the sector, CEOs, Prime Minister. I don't know whether the PM's going to be there, but certainly the level of support from the sector, from the ag or dairy sector at these awards is certainly second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mr. Luxon needs all the support he can get, don't you think? He should be at everything.
I think he's going all right at the moment, to be honest. I think he's stared down the dissenters and told them he gave them a chance, which is a good call. Actually, it's funny you should say that, because I was thinking about it this morning. All that noise seems to have gone away. He gave them, Are we
telling off?
Well, he
get back in line.
No, he basically said put up or shut up.
Yeah.
And they didn't put up, so they had to shut up. So, and then they seem to have knuckled down, like too busy. Well, now you've got the coalition sort of sniping at each other anyway, so probably getting close to the election, so probably just time to knuckle down. And the other thing was, did you see that $6 million worth of funding or funding has come into the National Party, so donations. So that's a pretty good war chest.
Well, yes, there's a lot of people that we know that have been involved in pulling that together. So well done. That's fantastic news for them. It's going to be a really, really interesting election. And it's interesting too. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in life is that whole shut up and let the opposition just do damage to themselves.
Well, yeah, the old rule, don't interrupt your opposition while they're making a mistake.
Yeah, and that's what he must be doing.
Well, and that's what Labor's doing as well. But, once Labor starts to bring some policy out, and we must get our good friend Joe Luxon on the show again and find out if we get some ag policy. We should ask her that weekly and see what happens.
Sounds like a good idea. As he write that one down. Coming up after the rural news with Richard Badley, Matt Doocey caught up earlier today with Andy Thompson to talk about the new rural GP funding and how to improve rural healthcare across New Zealand.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lapp.
Success in dairy farming isn't a stroke of luck, because luck doesn't build legacy.
People ask for our secret for winning, but there's no silver bullet. Our strength lies in our focus on small, disciplined gains.
Strength is no longer about breaking your back. It's now about precision. Our strength is in taking care of our people, because you need a winning team to get winning results.
Our strength is also in our use of innovation. It's a reliable way to win, and EcoLab helps to keep us at the top of our game.
The strength of the NZ dairy industry is one smart, solid choice at a time.
Our first thoughts when Sarah introduced it to us, I thought game changer in almost every possible way, from cost savings, environmental impact, the precision and accuracy of just keeping everything efficient. Yeah, time saving too, really. We are now reassessing our farming business because we have potential to be more productive. We can now look at increasing our stocking rate because we can now put fertiliser where it needs, which means in return we get more grass. It really allows us to optimise nutrient management. We can use the tools to map out and just put the nutrients exactly where it's needed.
Working the land is all go, all the time. Nature waits for no one. So to make the most of big ticket investments, we got you. Shop offers in store, online, Farmlands Pro, or with your rep.
We're a fourth generation business, starting with my grandparents.
In our family, innovation has been a mindset. We're always looking to adopt technology that allows us to apply our management practices with as much precision as we possibly can.
You can't execute this vision without good support around you, so BNZ have been there right from the start.
And we're very confident for the future because we have a very strong governance team, and we include the BNZ in that governance team to help us find a way to achieve our business goals.
The sense to accurately detect she is on heat. The sense to know she is unwell. The sense that you can hold in your hand. It just makes sense.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perry-Lapp. Keeping up with the news is a lot like working the land. It's all go, all the time. Nature waits for no one. Farmlands is here to help this with expert advice, reliable products, and timely supply.
This is CountryWide Connect News with Farmlands. Good afternoon, I'm Richard Badley. A major new climate risk assessment has flagged rural communities among those facing the sharpest consequences from climate change, with roads, infrastructure, farming and council finances all under growing pressure. The Climate Change Commission's 2026 National Climate Change Risk Assessment identifies 10 priority risks for New Zealand. While agriculture sits outside that top 10, rated as a one to watch, the report warns farming risk jumps directly from minor now to major by 2050, driven by drought, extreme weather, soil erosion and pest pressure. The report specifically calls out smaller rural councils as among the hardest hit, with constrained budgets and limited borrowing capacity already delaying resilience investment. A quarter of roads and a third of rail lines are exposed to flooding, with consequences described as especially severe for rural and isolated areas where alternative routes simply don't exist. Commission Chief Executive Joe Hendy says New Zealand is stuck in react and recover mode, spending money cleaning up after events rather than building resilience. New Zealand's leading premium olive oil producer has gone into liquidation, raising serious concerns about the future of the local industry. Wairarapa based the Olive Press, the country's only registered wholesaler of certified premium olive oils, will be wound up after 27 years in operation. Director Rod Lingard says the closure leaves local growers with few options for their commercial crops, facing a choice between selling fruit to processors outside the region or leaving olives on the tree. Lingard says a lack of investor interest forced the closure, and he's been critical of the industry's governing body, Olives New Zealand, saying it has failed to develop a growth strategy or marketing plan in 3 decades. With 6 months until the election, Federated Farmers is warning the government is rapidly running out of time to deliver on its freshwater and resource management promises to farmers. Freshwater spokesperson Colin Hurst says while some early progress was made repealing unworkable rules, the previous government's national policy statement for freshwater management, introduced by former Environment Minister David Parker in 2020, remains law nearly 3 years on. That means resource consents are still being tested against targets Federated Farmers says are unachievable, and any change in government could see those rules immediately re-implemented. Crucially, the national policy detail that would replace existing frameworks hasn't been released, leaving farmers unable to make long-term investment decisions. There's cautious optimism about new Environment Minister Nicola Grigg, who has a farming background, but Hurst says optimism only goes so far. And that's the latest news.
Nature waits for no one. Farmlands is here to help this with expert advice, reliable products and timely supply. Shop offers in store, online, Farmlands Pro, or with your rep.
All right, time to catch up with the Associate Minister of Health, Matt Doocey. Haven't actually talked to Matt before. There's been a recent announcement from the government. They have put $1 million into Rural GP Training Fund aimed at helping country doctors deliver more planned care locally, which is great. The announcement was made at a recent World Rural Health Conference in Wellington, where workforce shortages, healthcare across rural and mental health were major talking points. Matt Doocey joins us. G'day, Matt. Welcome to the show. Nice to meet you. Thanks for your time.
Marina, good morning, Andy. Thanks for having me.
And before we get into this, you're not making the stadium tonight against those horrendous, the New Zealand's national stadium against the Blues.
That's right, Te Kaha, the new national stadium for the country. And boy, have I enjoyed being up in Parliament, giving the colleagues like Prime Minister Mark Mitchell, the Minister for Sport, to say how they're going to have to relinquish Eden Park as the national stadium. Look, I can't make it tonight, unfortunately, but I will be watching on demand later after the game.
Yeah, no, I'm actually making it tonight, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And that Super Round, that over Anzac weekend, was a very, very special time. I know we've talked about that quite a bit. Hey, look, let's just talk about the conference first and foremost. A world conference on rural health. What was that about, and what sort of things do they talk about at that?
Yeah, look, how good for the country and how good for profiling rural health in New Zealand to host what is called WONCA, the World Rural Health Conference, for the first time in New Zealand. It was held at Te Kina in Wellington. I went along and spoke at the opening of that. Look, they had almost 1,000 delegates, and you think of some of the tensions around the Middle East and stopping some people travelling, to think they still got more than 1,000 people around the world. Amazing opportunity for us to showcase what we're doing in rural health. Look, it's not perfect like most countries, but actually I think we've got a lot to showcase. So quite a proud moment.
Yeah, great. 1,000 people. That'd be good for the Te Kina. That's in Wellington, right? That'll be good. That is in Wellington, isn't it, Te Kina?
Yeah, very much
That'll be good for the Wellington economy. They need all the help they can get at the moment.
You're right. I think the numbers were it pumped about $3 to $5 million into the local economy that weekend. But rest assured, I did pitch for the South Island in the sense that most of those delegates knew pretty clear from me that as they travelled around on their trip, they needed to head down south as well.
Absolutely. Now, interesting, like we've lived rurally, we're a rural show. Access to rural healthcare around the country is still problematic, and we know there's lots of reasons for that. Isolation, low numbers, population is low density. But so what is this $1 million rural training fund supposed to achieve? What's the idea behind it? What is it going to achieve?
Well, when we think about announcing policies out of the Beltway of Wellington, we need to ensure that actually they're more targeted to address the issues on the ground. And the reality is Wellington doesn't know best, especially when it's talking about rural communities. And that's why we've tagged this fund specifically for rural GPs, but not only to allow them to access the training, but to allow them to also cover the costs of their travel to get to that training, and also the backfill, because quite often when GPs in our rural communities go on training, that prevents more care being offered as well. So we don't want that to stop. That will backfill. And largely what it is that when you take a step back under the government's rural health strategy, we want to bring care as close to home as possible in our rural communities. And when you look at planned care, so think of procedures around skin lesions. Quite often people in rural communities need to travel a great distance to have that procedure, but when we now can train our local GPs in that planned care, they can bring that procedure into their local rural GP to support their local community.
So that's interesting, because you're right. You can't have a rural GP going away training, because it just leaves a gap. Which then they can't be used. What is the definition of rural when it comes to rural healthcare? Because I'm thinking, like I live on the West Coast, Greymouth, but had spent a long time living in Hokitika. There's only one, that rural practice in Hokitika covers all of Westland, but would Hokitika be classed as rural then? Or do they actually have to live in a very rural area for this to qualify for this?
Yeah, look, it's a very good question. And actually, when we came into office and under the Associate Health Delegation, I had rural health because I pitched for that with the Prime Minister and the Health Minister. Actually, we didn't have the ability to identify rurality within our health system. That biggered belief for me.
Yeah.
So we have brought in what we call the GCH. So that's a geographical classification in health. So the first time when we are looking at reports, we can actually drill down into rurality and urban. And to your point, Andy, where I live here in North Canterbury and Waimakariri, potentially the good performance of our more urban parts of our district can actually mask the poor performance of our rural parts of the district. So now we can drill into that. I'd have to ask the officials the technical classifications of rurality, but at a higher point, what I can do when we set our health targets is we can drill into rural areas and look at their performance. And quite rightly, when it's not as good as urban, we direct Health New Zealand to ensure that they lift performance.
Yeah, okay. So it's interesting you're talking about fairly simple, reasonably simple procedures that a GP can do. One of the things that I've noticed, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, is a drive from this government to empower, and I don't know the technical term for this, but those highly qualified nurses and even pharmacists. How's that help pharmacists to be kind of primary care providers? Is that helping?
Very much so. Look, I was in Darfield in Selwyn yesterday with Nicola Grigg, the Member of Parliament for Selwyn, and Simeon Brown, the Health Minister. We had a public meeting on rural health in that community, and actually we heard loud and clear from the frontline workforce there, doctors and nurses, the big difference nurse practitioners are making. So look, when you look at rural health, we won't have the ability maybe as urban areas is to have the number of specialists and specialisms, but in our rural areas we can move to what's called a generalism model. And actually a lot of the rural workforce is up for that, right? They don't want to necessarily specialise, they want to generalise, and they love working in an environment where they can work across a few of those divides. So we're really keen to upskill our nurses and nurse practitioners, as well as you think about the changes we've made now. When I was ACC Minister, I allowed paramedics to be paid through ACC to work in primary care as well. So they're the changes, the real common sense, practical changes you talk about, Andy, that can make a real difference in a smaller town. There's still challenges though, Matt. I know in rural communities, you can wait up to a month for a non-urgent doctor's appointment, whereas in the cities you can generally get there, or you can go to a 24-hour one. You might have to wait up to 6 or 8 hours to get to that. But, you know, it's still frustrating in urban and rural communities, this wait and this low GP numbers. Is there anything specifically that is being done to try and alleviate that? Yeah, look, I appreciate that, and I know that intimately. I live in a town, we don't have after hours, right? And so we have to travel a great distance to go to after hours. And when you've got young kids in the middle of the night, when the temperatures spike, you got to wrap them up in the car and drive in. So that's something we're acutely aware of. Just if I step through a couple of changes. One is around funding, right? We've got a once-in-a-generation change of funding at the moment. It hasn't happened in about 20 or 30 years. We're looking at the capitation formula. That's how we fund our GP practices. Those changes are underway. For the first time, rurality will be a criteria for capitation funding. That gives it real profile, and our rural practices will receive more funding for that. I think that will be quite a game changer. On top of that, we've also brought in a very bold target that we've got 18 months left to roll out. 98% of Kiwis to be able to access after hours, no matter where they live, within 1 hour. Now, that's easier, as you say, Andy, in our urban areas, but actually I'm responsible for rolling that out in 70 remote and rural areas as well. But I must say the officials are up for it. We've rolled out our first 6 pilot sites, and already that's making a real difference on the ground. ground. So
what does that look like, Matt? Just so what if you live in an area, say you live in Wataroa, Harry, somewhere like that, you need some after hours care. Would that be in Hokitika or Franz Joseph? And what's going on? Is it just someone on call, or is it actually a 24-hour 24-hour sort of doctor's surgery open?
Well, what it will look like is going to be quite different in different communities. So the first 6 prototypes, we had Twizel, Takaka, Tikawiti, Turangi, Thames, all the T's, and a Great Barrier. And what it showed actually is rural communities are the masters of workarounds, right? This generalism model, there's a lot of good stuff going on. So we're getting alongside of it because it's not only seeing the person in person for your consult, it's point of care ultrasound, point of care testing. How do you provide medicines after hours when you maybe don't even have a pharmacist available as well? So that's where we're building out that system. And to your point, Andy, whether it's going in to open up the GP practice at 2 a.m. or actually another facility that is deemed where you go, and that's what they're working out local with local communities.
All right. I guess part of it is, to be honest, Matt, is over the years, rural people have just got used, as you said, workarounds, got used to not having anything. And it comes back to relationships or getting in the car and driving for 3 hours to your local centre where it can be done, So anyway, or overloading your local hospital's A&E, which is the other option, I guess.
Yes, but not a very good option, as we know, because it's not the appropriate use of healthcare for the individual themselves, having to go to A&E when they should have been either seen in after hours or actually within their GP practice in normal hours. And actually, as a taxpayer, it's not the best use of funds because actually it's more expensive by the time they get to A&E. So that's why we've made commitment to open up more GP practices in rural areas. You look at the 3rd medical school with an absolute focus in Waikato of rurality and primary care to grow more GPs, but also that target 98% of Kiwis to access after hours.
One more question, and I do have to go because I'm out of time, but what about bonding of GPs into rural areas? Is that there's been a lot of talk about that. Is that actually happening?
That is available now. But Andy, respectfully, me and you are of an age where things have changed, and the younger people, quite frankly, are not up for bonding. Even with voluntary bonding, where there's quite a good financial incentive, it's quite underutilised. But what we do know with our young people, if we give them opportunities, so we're opening up rural training hubs where there's actually places now within rural primary care, they can come out of their training institutions and go straight into that. And what we do know, if we can get them into a rural community, they learn there, they stay there, then that'll bode well for building out the workforce.
All right, Matt Doocey, Associate Minister of Health, really appreciate your time. Didn't want to talk rural mental health, but I figured it's such a big topic. We'll save that for another day. How's that?
Why don't I come and visit in the studio, Andy? And
love that.
Talk.
Yeah, and we can also share our love of our new national stadium.
Cheers to that.
You tell McCullum that next time you see him. All right, Matt Doocey, thanks, mate. See ya.
Thank you.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lapp.
All right, welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us. Friday afternoon, Lincoln University's prestigious 2026 Bledisloe Medal has been awarded to Kerry Allen, recognised as one of the pioneers of agribusiness education in New Zealand's secondary schools. For more than 30 years, Kerry has helped reshape how agriculture and horticulture are taught, building pathways to connect students directly into the food and fibre centre. Joining us now is the 2026 Bledisloe medalist, Kerry Allen. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Very, very prestigious award, this one. You were presenting at Lincoln University last night between 4 and 5. How did that go?
Yes, I was very privileged to have a group of people come and listen to me to hear about my story and getting agribusiness into New Zealand secondary schools. Yeah.
First up, and I want to talk about what you've done, but what did it mean to you to actually receive this medal?
It's very humbling to be acknowledged for all the hard work that has been done over the years. It's not just myself. I have a team as well, but it's all the hardworking agri teachers all across the country that have put in the hard work So I feel like I've, accepting it on their behalf as well. And so, yeah, it means a lot.
The Bledisloe Medal, though, is one of Lincoln University's highest honours, recognising your work in agribusiness education. Did you ever imagine your program would go to this scale?
No, never imagined that I'd actually be doing the agribusiness program, to be honest. No, that was an opportunity that came up with St Paul's Collegiate School, and I came on as their agribusiness director, and yeah, we've taken it from strength to strength, and then it's been really embraced by the nation. So
you started this just as a program at St Paul's Collegiate Agribusiness?
That's right. It was a project that was to meet the needs of our parent body. We had a lot of, we're a big boarding school, predominantly rural, and it was felt that we weren't meeting the needs of that rural community. So this was to stem that, fix that need, and but then it was felt it was bigger than just St Paul's Collegiate, needed to be rolled out across the country. So
you started to roll it out, obviously 30 years ago. A lot of growth. How many schools is this program currently in?
So we're in 128 schools. It has been a subject in the national curriculum from 2018. So really that's when it really took off. Prior to that, we had only been going about 4 years, and it was just a niche program in the school. But yeah, we have 128 schools. We've had a few more than that, but yeah, there's been a few that have come off and come on for various reasons.
And so roughly how many students are running in the program in 2026?
So there's about 3,000 students in the program each year, and we've had about 23,000 over the last 9 years.
So as we said, this program has been going for sort of 30 odd years. What's changed in the way that you've run the program in that time? How did it start and where is it now? What sort of things are in it?
So yeah, 30 years ago, we just had agriculture and horticultural science. So that's on-farm, on-boat, on-orchard management practices and learning how to produce crops and grow products. The agribusiness program is basically from the farm gate, orchard gate, from the boat, right through to the consumer. And we target a slightly different sort of student. So these are students that are not necessarily going to go potentially on the land. They might do, but they might not. They might be somewhere else along that value chain. And these students are going to go into logistics, management, marketing, your role, anything along the...
Rural professionals.
Yes, that's right. Anything along that value chain. And then so that's trying to target those students who we might not have targeted before. And that's so that they have a really good understanding of the primary industry.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people would be assuming you're probably teaching agriculture skills, as ag science type of things, but no, more the business side of agriculture.
Yes, so it does both. So there's opportunities for students to go down either pathway. But yes, we're trying to give other skills that they will need to understand that value chain, what's needed, and where they could go with that.
It's interesting because in the past, I think agriculture careers have always sort of been seen as a little bit of a poor cousin.
Yes, they
Certainly
do.
not
Yes.
the way it is. Or what's your experience now?
We do still, unfortunately, have poor perception in some areas for agriculture and horticultural science. Agribusiness has, because it has more of the business side of it, it has a slightly better view. But basically, yeah, we're just trying to make sure that everybody's aware of all those careers that are out there, because if we don't make them obvious, then who is going to?
Is that changing, though, that perception?
Yes, it is changing. Yeah, it is.
And what do you think's behind that? What's driving that change?
Because those are the people we need. We need top quality academic students who think above and beyond what's been done before or tradition. We want innovators. We need their thought processes. We need those people coming through with their new ideas.
So the students that you're attracting, are they how do you attract the students into the course in the first place? Because they have choices, right?
Yes.
You're sitting there at the start of the year and mum and dad and you're going, well, what courses are you going to take? How do you attract students to the agribusiness course?
So we ground it in real life bits and pieces. So we look at innovation when we make products. We try to get them to think innovatively. We ensure that everything we do is also related out to there in the business and with agribusinesses. So we try to connect them with agribusinesses as well to see what's out see what the real job is and what's done. But we also want, if they're going to be an accountant or a lawyer, we want them to be the best accountant and lawyer they can be, but also come back into our industry and understand the primary industries, so that they have a full understanding of how they can take that better and move that part of the business much better forward.
So give me an idea of what an average student agribusiness curriculum looks like.
So in year 12, they do cash flow forecasting. They look at future proofing and what the influences are on businesses. They look at business structures and particularly cooperatives, because as you know, we're the biggest cooperatives in the world. But we also have Māori incorporations and Māori trusts, which are nowhere else in the world. And 40% of agribusinesses are either one of those. And then we have looking at new organisms, so trying to get and see what new organisms are out there and how we can manipulate them or innovate them or change them to do other products. Then in year 13, we're moving into future-proofing strategies. We look at capital expenditure, strategic expenditure, and then looking at value added, so right along that value chain and looking at all the different areas that we can improve products.
So you had a bit of a battle last year, though, with the changes in the secondary school curriculum. Talk to me about that.
Yes, so the Minister announced a list of subjects that were going to be dropped out of the subject list. Agribusiness and agriculture and horticultural science were two of those. So that happened, and I basically lobbied a lot of people got a lot of people to come on and help me to lobby the Minister to get those subjects back. So agribusiness has gone into business studies curriculum, so it will be clear and visible in that subject, and ag hort science is back at year 12 and 13. We do also have a primary industries vocational pathway subject that's going to be offered as well. At this stage,
is that more practical based, that one?
Yes, so we're more using the skills standards.
So going out on farms and that sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good, because that's important, because I remember we were talking just before we started this, and I did fifth form agriculture and fifth form animal husbandry, and you said you did as well, right? Yeah. But that was very practical based.
Yes.
We did genetics. We had a school farm at Waimea College where I was, and I remember at the time really enjoying learning the science of agriculture, then going back and then be able to put it onto the farm. I was growing up on a farm. So it's good to see that unit standard, that actual practicals and that ag hort science is still there. The really cool thing about this, as far as I can see, is it drives interest, I think, in the ag sector, and then leads through, right, to universities like Lincoln University. You must have a very strong relationship with them, with the universities?
Yes, we do. So the program links really nicely in with first year, either agricultural science or agricultural commerce or marketing or any of those sort of food marketing type degrees. But not only that, but also the diplomas. So we've tried to dovetail it in nicely so that the students go there not already knowing a little bit, not all, obviously, but enough that they feel comfortable, and that's going to ease their way into university.
Do you have any idea of the retention rate coming through these courses, these classes, and going into the universities?
Not into the universities, no, but we have had a study done, and 3.6 more likely students, if they've done the agribusiness program, will go into the primary industry in a vocational pathway.
Yeah.
So the stats prove that, if they've gone and done agribusiness, they're more likely to go into the industry.
So what do we as a sector, ag sector, what do we have to do better to attract more young people into the ag business? Because they're the future of our sector, right?
That's right. I just think we need to make sure that they have a good understanding of what is out there. I don't think they're fully aware of all the careers that can occur in the primary industries. That's endless, and the potential is enormous. So just highlighting all those, but also just being able to show them what each of those jobs potentially could be, or so that they can mould them into what they need to be for the future. There'll be jobs that we don't even know coming up that we will need.
I wonder if I wonder if our sector, our levy bodies, organisations are actually doing enough. It's quite a good question, actually. I might ask a few of them what they're doing, actually, to make sure that young people see agriculture as a viable future, particularly ag business. I think there's ones that want to go on farm is probably not too bad.
Yeah.
That's my perception, but we do need our best and brightest coming through.
That's right. Yeah, I do have very good business partners and business supporters who helped the program and got the program off the ground initially. They still help with funding. We do get a little bit of funding from the Ministry of Education, but most of it comes out of the business sector. And yeah, they definitely are working really hard to ensure that we get students coming through.
All right, Kerry, lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been fantastic to chat to you about this. Kerry Allen, 2026 Lincoln University Bledisloe Medalist, business educator and from St Paul's Collegiate School. Thank you. Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamb.
Welcome back to CountryWide Connect. Thank you very much for joining us live wherever you are. Sorry, I sound like I'm slurring my words.
No, well,
it's not Friday drinks time just yet.
Not yet, although that has been discussed. But anyway, no, absolutely not. Hey, look, just going to say there, like what Kerry has done is just absolutely incredible, and that to see the recognition, and so the award is given today. I thought it was last night, but it's actually today. So she's there this afternoon. So she's there and going to be given that Bledisloe. So brilliant.
And very, very well deserved. Kerry Allen does such an amazing job for agribusiness and schools and fighting for the curriculum not getting dropped. The agricultural curriculum was about to get dropped and she really leaned into that one and they did a bit of a U-turn. So well done. Congratulations, Kerry.
Yeah, I think Erica Stanford might have heard quite a bit quite quickly.
Yes.
In fact, it was within half an hour that she sent off about 2,000 emails. So, yeah.
100%. We're actually staying in the congratulations realm and heading now down to Otago, where congratulations to Anna Gillespie, who joins us from the car. Anna, would you mind just tipping your camera down a little bit? We can just see you hiding there in the bottom. Where are you right now?
Sitting on Luke Kane's property, actually, in Tapanui.
Amazing. And then congratulations is your new title as President of Federated Farmers for Otago, taking that baton from Luke.
Thank you. Yes, it is. Yep.
A very that Otago Federated Farmers role is a very, very sought after one. And obviously Mark Patterson had it before, was it before Luke, I think. So are we going to follow in all the other Otago, all the other Federated Farmers presidents and go into politics? That's how it works, isn't it?
No, not at all. Not on my radar.
Exactly. Anna, you're there at the what is it called? The field day for
Field
the
day,
Balanced Farm Environment Award winners at Luke. And it's a combined one, isn't it, with Southland as well?
Yes, so Luke and Nicole's this morning, and then, sorry, I can't remember the winners from Southland, their names this afternoon. So, everyone's just heading off now to Southland, and it's cleared. They're just 10 minutes away, so, yeah.
I'm talking about boundary adjustments that we should get Luke Kane back on, because the last time we're talking to him, about the suggestion he's in Southland, really upset him, Anna. But Otago obviously has very different pressures facing it than Southland. What are some of your focuses going to be under your presidency?
Well, I think, to be fair, after this week's announcements, it's all going to be about local government, right? And it's and RM reform. So, I think that's probably going to at least take up the next 3 years. And who knows? If there, God forbid, if there's a change of government, we might be looking back at the same environmental kind of regulations that we were previously. But, hopefully it sticks with this one and we can crack on with that LG reform and RM reform.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit on this week, talked to Simon Watts and had quite a few conversations about this local government reform. One thing, and Sarah's laughing at this because I keep making this point that, and they both said this to me when we've spoken about it, regional boundaries are not sacrosanct in this reforms. We could see some changes here.
Yeah, and I think, some of those changes will be for the better. I kind of think of Waitaki probably springs to mind. It's slightly out of my zone, but it's where I grew up, and it's I mean, they have more commonalities with Canterbury than they do with Otago in lots of respects. So, you know, some of those boundary adjustments, I think, could be a really, really good thing. I mean, between Queenstown Lakes and Central Otago, I mean, there's no real boundary there, right? It's all just one big place. It's like how much of a council we have over the whole thing or half the thing. I don't know.
I was thinking about that actually yesterday, specifically that environment, you know, that area coming from there, Anna. The perfect boundary is Queenstown, Wanaka, Cromwell together as one council.
Yeah.
And then everything from basically the Clyde Dam south is Otago in regards to realistically the needs are very different.
Yeah. Yeah. But then I guess it's how far you go, right? And you go, well, is Tapanui in or out, or is Tapanui Southland? And then you have that very strong kind of regional, you know, we've always been Otago, why would we want to be Southland? But so, I mean, we were visiting a farm in Hawke's Bay recently and standing on the top of a ridgeline and looking at an area that was a significant natural area in one council and not in the other. So one farmer's planted pine trees on it and the other one's got it, you know, shut up and doesn't do any kind of regrowth or cultivation on its beautiful country. And it's like, it really smacks you in the face that you've got to be working with the environment, not some line that someone's drawn on a map. Like, it's just, we've got to be bigger picture than that. And I think that's what this will give us an opportunity to do is group things more accordingly.
One of the big issues for Otago is it's interesting. It's water, but it's not kind of the way the water is maybe in Southland or the West Coast. It's a lack of water in places, right? And there's been a lot of discussions with the Otago Regional Council about that. Where is the progress, or where is that at currently?
Oh, it's at a standstill with the once the government put a stop to the land and water Otago releasing their land and water plan, then that put a stop to our conversations around water. So you spent a long time in that battle. And really, it's just at a complete standstill. And until we get for Central Otago and the Manihira Care is the one that springs to mind for everyone. Until we get a minimum flow on that river, it's kind of, there's a lot of things that stand waiting. It's a bit of a hard space to work in terms of what's the resolution and how do you keep everyone happy in those climates where it's just, that's your limiting factor for everything. For any productive business, it's the lack of water.
Do you think that members of Feds and the wider farming community, Anna, understand the importance of the reform and the patience that may need to flow through for the better? Or is it like we need to keep the momentum whilst the reform? It's a real chicken and egg scenario.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing, right, is people having patience to have the conversation and not having kind of pre-set ideas of how they think it should be. It's like you've got to take everyone's voice around the table. And I mean, it's a pretty short timeline, right? It's like 3 months, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we're going to be into it. And we've got to at least have come up with a suggestion. It's like some councils are well ahead in having conversations about it, and other councils are going, oh, how do we have this conversation? So I think patience is the key.
That's very much what Simon Watt said when we were talking to him earlier in the week. Basically, some are a long way through and good on them. Others haven't even started. Well, we're going to make them start. And if they don't start, we're just going to do it anyway, regardless. One of the questions that I keep asking, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, with the dissolution of the regional councils, Anna, in 2028, as it is now, it's been pushed out to 2028. But what's your perception of farmers in your region? Are they kind of going, hey, fantastic, no more regional councils? Or are they realistic about those rules, those regulations will still be there, just in a different, with a different structure or a different entity?
I think that's the hard thing, is that people don't know what rules are going to stay and what rules are going to go, in terms of we haven't seen the RM reform. So we don't know to a large degree how many of those rules are still there. I mean, they've already kind of scrapped a bunch of them around winter grazing, and they'll keep kind of on that bandwagon with the current government. But so it's hard to know, for us, if ORC is gone, then who plays that role of keeping what regulations going and what regulations are we going to still have. So, yeah, so much of the unknown. I think a lot of people will be quite pleased to see RC go. It's another rates bill. And while they've been very in a much better space with the new CEO, he's done a great job, then, yeah, it's, in terms of rates bill, it isn't increasing the same way it was, but it's still a large enough bill, and there's still a lot of jobs in there that you would perceive that we don't need people doing those jobs.
What are they going to do with the $45 million building in the Zen room then?
Yeah, we're all talking about the Zen room.
Seriously, we need a Zen room here.
Well, yes, a $45 million building in a Zen room, so the staff can go in there and switch off completely from their devices. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong.
Why don't you just go outside?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't going to work actually designed to actually get on your devices and work? I don't know. Am I missing something?
Being at work, right?
Yeah.
Well, you go to work. You don't go to work to hang out and chill out.
And
like
zen.
I mean, if you need a break, go at your lunch break, go for a walk.
Yeah. It's just that's a bit too practical, Anna. So the interesting part about it, Sandra Faulkner also joined us on the show, your counterpart in many ways with Feds, around the education that we still have to keep up to farmers, that there still is going to be rules and there still is going to be a statutory body as well. It's not like it's all being thrown out the window.
No, that's exactly right. Like it's so much of the unknown is where are we going to be and who's going to be. If someone's checking winter grazing consents, those have gone. So that's a bad example. Trying to think of other, even some of the building consents that this government has kind of pushed back on some of those. It's like that stuff, we just don't know where the line sits now and where it will in 2 years' time. So
yeah, what's been interesting, Anna, is there's the conversation from multiple different parties in the media around Canterbury conversions. And, like Ian McKenzie, ECAN councillor, has clearly said these conversions are not going to go ahead unless they meet these environmental regulations. They are in place. And so, that they still are having to go through that whilst this change as well. But there will be some form of regulation there at the same time. It's just going to be a grey area.
Yeah, it is going to be a grey area. And I guess Andrew Hogarth is pushing hard on farm plans, right? So farm plans, if you've got a farm plan, then you won't need regulation to say whether you can or you can't. You won't need consent. But whether the reality of that, especially for the likes of ECAN, when they've already got very in-depth consents, it's how they're going to get to a point where they scrap most of those. Yeah, but if there is no ECAN, and if we're back to, Canterbury, Christchurch is its own council, and then regional Canterbury is a different council, then I guess it makes it easier because you're not dealing with ingrained staff, kind of going, but we've always done it this way. So,
yeah, it's the other thing that I keep saying to Sarah and guests on the show in the last week or since this came out, and I'm really surprised by the lack of discussion about this from the general public. And I wonder if it's just fatigue. People are just sick of councils and they're happy to have anything happen, trying to get lower rates. Has there been discussion around this amongst Otago Federated Farmers members or in your community?
Not so much, but I think, it's kind of discussion around the fringes, right? It's not actual, let's have a meeting and let's kind of have some indication of where we'd like to see things. And I think the general public, and what I've seen in particular, I kind of noticed my parents doing, and it's like they just don't know what councils do to start with, let alone what they're even getting for their rates. Or, they've paid an ORC rates bill for, generations without really knowing what ORC does and what they're even getting for their money. So they just see it as, well, that's fine. If some of the councils are going, who really cares? We don't know what they do. But so many people are in that kind of space is, what does a council do and what do you get for it? A town people kind of go, yeah, we get a library and we get a swimming pool, and they pick up the rubbish. And it's like, well, there's some other things they do too, but
we get sewage and you get water, Mind you, you don't get that. You don't get that in the country, do you? In rural.
No. Well, and that's the hard thing is that some of the councils are going through that debate. I mean, like Luther is, they own a bunch of water schemes, which you feed water, like stock water and urban water. Well, what do they call it? The house water. But whereas most of the other councils probably aren't dealing with that kind of stuff either. Like, I mean, and for us on farm, it's like literally we have a gravel road at our driveway, and that's about it. It's kind of like, well, we pay a lot of rates for that gravel road.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Anna, and thank you very much for joining us. Anna Gillespie is the new president of Federated Farmers in Otago, joining us from the Balanced Farm Environment Awards
Luke Kane's place.
Field Day. Luke Kane, outgoing Otago president, there on the show. Thank you very much for your time, Anna.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Amazing. A lot of time for Anna. I think she's a great candidate for that role, and she'll be a sharpshooter, a bit like Katie Milner, a bit like Sandra Faulkner, actually.
Do you know what's really interesting when you've got Southland Feds, and we pointed comment there at my mate Jason, moving into politics, but Southland Feds full stop. I see Chris Dillon has become the president of Southland Federated Farmers again. Not unprecedented when a president leaves, the past president steps back in to finish the term.
Yeah.
But the attitude between those two councils, or between those two regions of federated farmers, and their, not just attitude, but the way that they conduct themselves in the past is quite marked. Marked.
So would you like to explain how marked that behaviour is?
Very. We'll do that another day, shall we? But very different. It's from my experience over the years, very, very different.
And culturally, not that different.
No, and that's the point. As we talked about, Southland, Otago, very close.
A lot of boarding school kids, and I can vouch for this. Otago and Southland go to the same boarding schools in Dunedin, so we're all, quite.
They don't like each other.
They interbreed quite well between the regions. The rabbits run across the boundaries.
Oh, there we go. Now we're going to get into trouble. Right, shall we talk some sport?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
It is. It's time to talk sport, and our two commentators, as usual, Brian Ashby, Gash, and we also have Dave Worsley from Auckland. G'day, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I've sent a couple of topics through. Am I right? Did I miss the fact the Warriors aren't playing this week? Is that right, Wurzel? Are they got a bye or not?
The Warriors have a bye, but Auckland FC are playing. And, of course, the Blues are playing against someone as well.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that. All right. Well, we'll go down and we'll talk to Brian Ashby first. Brian, Steve Lancaster is... Sorry?
Oh, Brian's was there and he's disappeared.
There. We've lost him. Okay, we'll come back. We'll stay with you then, Wurzel. Steve Lancaster, what do you make of him as the CEO for the NZRFU?
Well, very stable, which is great. However, perhaps we were misled, or perhaps we wanted something sensational, and maybe we were looking at Sean Marks. Apparently he was touted for a while, would have been fantastic, has everything you could want in a professional sports environment, ex-player, NBA leader, NBA general manager. I mean, you can't get any higher than that, really. Maybe he would have been too expensive. Maybe he didn't want the infighting. I mean, he has enough when it comes to NBA. He could have been a very good role model CEO, but apparently didn't quite make the cut as such. But we heard that it was a worldwide search, yet we came back to someone who was already there as an interim, who apparently they obviously didn't want to start with because they went everywhere else. And I'm sure Gash will probably agree that when you say you're going for a worldwide search, but you come back to your interim who has been there in charge of community rugby, something just seems a little unusual, a little strange.
Oh, we do that all over the show. Look at Fonterra. They did hired internally as well.
Speaking of Fonterra, the rumour was that Miles was shoulder tapped for the job as well. That's now I don't have any evidence of that other than I got told it late last year from someone who would probably know.
But
did you hear that, Wurzel? Miles Hurrell?
Well, what was the last part that you said? Who did you have in charge?
Oh no, the rumour was that the former CEO of Fonterra, Miles Hurrell, was tapped or was in discussions for the role. That was middle or late last year.
I guess when you look at it, it depends how business orientated you want to go, and depends at the next level. You can have great CEOs who do ribbon cutting and go to business meetings, but you've got to have good workers, good general managers. And then you have to have good people on the ground floor as well. I mean, I worked for NZR for a while when there was David Rutherford, Steve Chu, and Greg Peters as the top three. It was chaotic at that time because we had the Eichenbauer report coming out slating the organisation. We had players shot at in South Africa. They were shifting building, and there was other issues as well. Was it McCaw as the leader of the board? It was 4 strong personalities. The board resigned and then all came back on at the same time after telling each other they were going to resign. It was messy, to say the least. So you have to have it organised as either as a business, but remember that you are a sport as well.
Yeah. Dave, I was listening to Gregor Paul last night. I just listened to Darcy's show pretty much on a Thursday just to be up with the play, so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. But there was a lot of discussion around, and this week from the Hurricanes owner, that Super Rugby should be the first port of call to put his energy. Do you believe that would be the case to get that, dare I say, pipeline of demand? And this is actually, dare I say, also, speaking from someone who genuinely has shut off from rugby, even though I come from a very strong rugby family, but going to that stadium and watching the Super Rugby with all its excitement has actually got me interested in rugby again.
Well, it's good you're into Super Rugby again. I'm sure Gash will agree as well. That's great. To me, Super Rugby has so much potential. Let's not just look back and was it 95 or 96 and 97 and say it was all fabulous then. It had some issues at that time, but it was something new that we enjoyed. It's just like having the Magic Round was something new. It's not always going to be the same. I think we've just got to remember that people want to see the top players as often as possible. They don't like rest and recycle. They want to see the top players. They want to be able to go at good times for families. That's where at least it's not 7:35 anymore, although albeit the Magic Round was a little bit later. You know, when teams are playing at 7 o'clock, it's so much better that extra half an hour, particularly when we get into these final few rounds. And I'm sure it's a bit colder, albeit indoors. Yes, it still gets cold in a couple of venues. So I think that's really important. I think, Gash, you agree that having earlier kickoffs is a big thing?
We're just trying to get Gash's audio.
I'm not seeing him, you see. I mean, Gash, you're looking beautiful. You can't answer back. Or maybe I should say something really bad about cycling.
He can hear us, but we can't hear him is the problem. And Cody's trying to fix that furiously. Hey, just a couple of questions while we've back to you, Worsley. So you mentioned to us when we were talking about Super Round when it happened that you didn't think it should stay in the same place, or you were unsure whether it should. Have you changed your view on that?
No, stay in the same place for a couple of years, but let's not wring it out. People see something good in what they want to do. They want to wring it for everything they can, every single cent they can, and I guess do more damage than good. You know, let's make it like the Sevens. Well, guess what? The Sevens existed, and then slowly it just drifted apart. People say, oh, it's a wokeness, and that's a complete lot of bollocks. People that use the word woke and fun police, well, that's because they haven't actually moved on in their own lives and realised that there is progress in life, and it does happen, and get over it. So this is the thing. You know, have it in Christchurch for a couple of years, maybe 3 years, shift it around a little bit wherever it's appropriate. And I say appropriate rather than let's just shift it randomly. Hey, let's take it to Melbourne again. That worked. Yeah. No, it didn't. Of course it wasn't going to work. Brisbane's a good location. Perth, possibly, but Brisbane is probably the better location than Sydney or Canberra. Not sure.
Yeah.
I don't really have a stadium anymore.
Okay, so on that then, there is talk about having an Anzac test between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. Obviously, you couldn't probably have a Super Round the same weekend as you're having an Anzac test, but what's your take on an Anzac test?
Anzac test sounds great. However, it's very early in the season, isn't it? So you'd be selecting, I mean, it would be an ideal thing to actually select directly from Super Rugby from the first, probably 7 rounds by then most of the time. Yeah, I think great idea. But again, we come up with these fabulous things. It's going to be fabulous. Well, it's kind of like how governments come up with these great policies, but then when you try and actually see them through, it just sounds like a great policy.
You sound like a grumpy old man, Wurzel.
Perhaps someone who sees, no, well, I'm definitely not the grumpy old man. I leave that for people in the South Island. It's more that people come up with these great things, but then actually don't look at the realism of actually hosting something.
One thing I did like that I heard last night and from an idea was about changing the rules for selecting players that are playing around the world for the All Blacks. Can you expand on what that would look like?
I'm not sure whether I'm for or against that. I mean, South Africa do it to a certain extent because half of their players, well, they are in the European zone. Australia have done that because they needed players. They were struggling. Does the call of the All Black jersey mean that people stay here? I mean, we're semi-doing it anyway. If Ardie Savea said, hey, I want to play for the All Blacks this year, hey, you're in. If someone else that we rate highly said, I really want to play, we'll probably put them in anyway. So perhaps we just do it as, just do it quietly.
Well, that's how we're doing it. It's being done on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly.
And players are required to officially request a sabbatical, which is sabbatical means go and earn $2 million, basically, for 3 months or 9 months or whatever it is, then come back. My worry would be that players on the fringe of the All Blacks, and they're still very sought after overseas, we wouldn't see them playing here in New Zealand in NPC or Super Rugby. They'd be gone.
Well, a lot of them are doing that now. We've seen a number of players, and you're going, hang on, well, they're all going to Scotland anyway. It doesn't matter if you're not a Mick or a Mac, you're all going to Scotland anyway. It seems most of their team is going to be of New Zealand descent or anything like that at the moment. And there's enough players, but hey, isn't that a free market? We live in that. Let's get over it. We live in a free market economy, and that goes to sports people as well. You can't hold on to everybody. You can't hold on to everything, and that's free market economy as such.
All right, Auckland FC tonight? Oh, tomorrow night, is it?
Tomorrow night, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. It was 5 p.m. last week. The crowd wasn't ideal, but then there's a lot of things going on that people have options to go to in Auckland. Yeah, it's going to be a big one against Adelaide. It's a first leg. They left it extremely late last time. I saw Steve Karika and Danny Hay just up the road. They go to the cafes every day, actually.
Of course they do.
Yeah, so I was going to put in a few little tactics like score and don't leave it until the shootout. It's pretty exciting when it came to the shootout. Yeah, that when it comes to semi-finals, anything go either way. It's the first leg, so get your goals on the board while you're at home.
On that, why is the semi-final 2 legs and the final only 1? It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. Well, I guess when you look at English football as well, it pretty much goes the same way. That, make the big song and dance on a one-off.
Yeah. I just need to know if I should be booking tickets to Wellington and what particular date I should for the final for my husband. For the Hurricanes.
For the Hurricanes, yeah. Well, okay. Well, they're not going to lose to Moana Pacifica this weekend, despite a few injuries. But hey, everybody's got injuries. Yeah, I think you're looking pretty good for that. However, the game tonight is really the make or break for the Crusaders. Crusaders win, then I would say they're establishing themselves again. They lose, then yes, they may still be 6th or roundabout, but I would then worry about their season. If the Blues win, they can, but then they can't, but then they might, but then they might not.
All right. Hey, I think
that wasn't very clear.
Yeah, no, that wasn't clear at all. Brian Ashby, I think you're there. Can we hear you, mate?
Yeah. I say apologies.
Welcome. Oops.
Apologies. I'm not quite sure what I was before, but I found you.
Brilliant. Well, you would have heard all of those conversations. And in succinctly, Steve Lancaster, thoughts on him as All Black CEO?
Yeah, Look, I've known Steve since 1997, both inside and outside of rugby and socially. His CV is very broad and within sports administration. I like what his work in recent times has been with grassroots, and just I sort of got into the conversation with Dave was talking about players from offshore and the like. The key, I think the biggest issue confronting New Zealand rugby is grassroots rugby. I think it's a crisis. Forget about the shop window at the top end, all the focus there. If the base of your pyramid is broken, you've got problems, and that is a problem for New Zealand rugby. I hope that he has enough sway with the board, and he's not a puppet for the board, that can be his focus and build the base of that pyramid, because that is where New Zealand rugby is falling down at the moment.
It's been falling down there for a while, Gesh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, interesting one. And also, let's have a quick look, because we are running out of time, at the games coming up. No doubt you'll be joining me at New Zealand's National Stadium tonight, Gash?
I am, yes, very much looking forward to that. And I think, look, crucial, as Dave was mentioning, for the Crusaders, the Blues have got a tough road in as well. So, they could sort of lose. They need a head of steam as well. The Crusaders need it more than the Blues. I like the look of the bench, Finlay Christie and Bowden Barrett coming off the bench for the Blues. Interesting selection.
Okay, but the Crusaders at home, obviously, you'd have to. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a great game, actually. To be honest, I can't wait.
Well, should be being played outside. It's a glorious day in Christchurch.
22 degrees.
got a nice stadium now. It's always
rid of that stadium.
We've finally got warm weather and a lovely day for a game of rugby outdoors.
Gash, what else are you looking forward to this weekend on the sports front?
Oh, look, I think Giro d'Italia gets underway this weekend. First of cycling's Grand Tours. We've got 3 Kiwis riding in that, one rookie, and then experienced guys like Corbin Strong, Dion Smith in there. It's been described as Giro, some of the European cycling journalists, because it's not as mountainous as some of the tours. Still brutal as hell. It's going to be an absolute belter. Jonas Vingegaard, probably the one to watch in this tour.
All right. Oh, well, we really appreciate your time, both of you gentlemen on the line. Brian, Ashby, thanks so much. A few technical issues, but we finally got there in the end. And Dave Worsley, thanks for your thoughts, mate. Really appreciate it. You go back to what have you got on? You got some football to watch this weekend. No doubt you'll be cheering on the Blues. Have a great weekend.
I will indeed. Yeah, go the Blues.
Of course.
Thank you very much, guys. Well, another week.
Token Aucklander.
I know he loves it. Another week down, Andy. Thank you very much for all your hard work this week. It's been an exciting and fun week on the show. So much excitement. I'm just going to go and paint a fence because I need something a bit boring this weekend.
Well, I'm going home.
Yes.
And I'm home next week. So that'll be nice. A whole week at home. Actually, I'm going to be home for a few days. So looking forward to that. But it's going to be very wet on the West Coast. So
yes. So wherever you are watching around the world, around New Zealand, thank you so much for tuning in to CountryWide Connect today and this week. And we will see you again on Monday here at 11 a.m. on CountryWide Connect.
CountryWide Connect, connecting farmers and growers to what they need to know to grow. Your daily innovative rural show with Andy Thompson and Sarah Miriam Lang.